Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool. And today I'm going to take a closer look at these fix-it sticks. These are fixed fix-it sticks versus fix-it sticks that have interchangeable tips on them. But I wanted to circle back for a moment. I had a comment by a guy named Felix who said he had picked up the Gador Red ball peen hammer, the little 4-ounce guy, I think after my recommendation. And he had mentioned he had a flat spot on the ball end. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder, what the quality control across these is like. And also, I wanted to compare it. So this is a quick circle back just to show you a close-up of this. I actually used this the other day. I'm going to try to stay out of the Arkansas versus Alaska debates, but I was using it on an Arkansas, and I ended up having a roll pin that was a little persnickety because I was enhancing the real estate around the bank switch, in case I wanted to put a glove on my booger hook. And I ended up having trouble with this guy because I was pounding on it. I got my roll pin punch out and I was whacking away at it. Now, if you've ever done anything like that, the roll pin, if you can keep it seated on the far end, it makes it so much easier to insert it back through. And if you knock it all the way out, then it becomes a real pain. There's a great chance you're going to scratch up the aluminum. And the roll pins are why we often take, Eugene's name in vain. But what happened was this one was requiring too much force, too many hits, and it's kind of a fragile area. So I moved up to this one. This was going to be too much, both of those. And this was just perfect. And I could very easily feel it as I was tapping it out. Just to the last couple millimeters, I could leave it seated. I replaced it, replaced the component, and then I was able to easily tap it right back in. So this played out great. But I want to show you the tips, and here's I'm up against an engineering square here, so you can kind of see what this thing looks like. In case there's some gleanable information here. It sounded like there was a flat spot or dead spot on the back, on the ball side. The only one I really have is right here on the edge. Otherwise, this is fairly smooth. I mean, it's not perfectly round. I mean, Snap-on, I'm sure this is better than most NASA spacecraft. This thing is incredible. On this Estwing, I can feel some deviations, and the biggest bump right up here at the top is actually a big glob of lacquer that's still on there because I haven't whacked anything with the top of it. You can see it wears off in other areas, even discolors. The blue point here, I can feel some little bumps, and it's got a pretty good one right here on the side where they were probably trying to grind down that. But you can see, let me put that up against it. Maybe if that helps, I don't know. But anyway, there's a dead spot on this guy on the edge. And it's also, if you look at, I don't know how straight that actually is. The smaller you make a tool like this, a kind of a pounding tool, the more difficult it is to keep it perfect. I learned that with tiny axes and hatchets. That if you go with small heads, trying to get them aligned just right is difficult. But anyway, so I'm just curious on the quality control, and maybe Felix will get back to us. But overall, this thing worked great. Now, I know if you're a Alaska fan, you're probably saying, why don't you just use a nail and a rock? It'd work the same. Yeah, I could. In fact, I just leave the nail in there and just bend the end and skip the whole roll pin. But I like to enjoy my work, and that includes doing it probably properly. But anyway, enough of that. Let's go to these fix-it sticks. Now, this is the first set that I've owned. I actually had one once I found on a trail, but I wasn't sure what it was all about. I'm going to have to go look and see if I can find it somewhere in my shop. But anyway, the Fix-It sticks are, well, actually Fix-It Stick is a company that makes all kinds of, often sport-specific tool kits. Lots of torque stuff, lots of different fasteners and sockets and drivers. I started out with this one for a couple of reasons. One, I like the color. How about that? And two, I was looking for a very simple option. This actually comes with this adapter plate, so it fits underneath a water bottle mounting on a bike. So I'm going to put this on my gravel bike, which, by the way, happens to have orange on it, so it's going to kind of match. But anyway, why? Well, many times you're adjusting the saddle. I don't have a dropper post on my gravel bike, so it would require using a hex fastener, number 5. And what I've discovered though is a lot of times if I'm carrying my tools on an under seat pack and I have to open it up and I have to kind of dump it all out here to get my tool and then, you know, dig out the right one. Actually, it might be a 4 on that bike on the collar. But anyway, I have to get the tool out and then make the adjustment and then try to pick everything back up. I probably won't. I'll just pedal along with it slightly out of adjustment. But if I've got something like this where I can just pop off the one that I want and make the adjustment and then put it back. So that's what I'm going to try. But then I thought, you know, this is pretty limited. I've got a 3, 4, 5, and 2 hex and 2 number 2 Phillips. And often I need others, including a T25 Torx. So I really like these Molwark bits, by the way. I'm going to be doing more with them. In fact, they sent me actually asked me about this, and I said, yeah, I want to take one of these for a spin. It's a digital torque meter, or torque wrench from Molwark. And so far, it's wonderful. I sold my Snap-on one just because I wasn't using it much, and I always kept taking the batteries out, and I also didn't want to, you know, set it down hard or leave it outside or anything. You know, those are like $500 now, you know, which means the probably dozen times a year I use it. Really kind of an expensive tool. I guess you could argue if I don't use the tool at all, it's even more expensive. But anyway, so what I've got here is a way to use this as a driver for standard, or actually in this case extended bits. Now what's different though is instead of just doing this, because this just slides right through, that'll just fall off. If I take both of them and then offset them, and I might offset them a little bit more than that, like that. Bring that up to flush. This actually is really tight now. So if I'm holding it this way, I have got full coverage on the bit here, and it's not going to slip or slide or anything, and I can even push hard on this because the offset, the opposition here between these two trying to turn in different directions is holding on to this hex shaft very tight. You know, that is not going anywhere as I wiggle around. And that was the solution for some specialty bits that I need. But then I also thought, well, I could easily just throw on a standard magnetic bit holder, and I found this little guy here that's just the right size, so I can drop that on, do exactly the same thing, now hold on tight, and then of course drop any bit that I want in there. And in most cases it's going to be a very small slotted and a number 1 Phillips. Those are also 2 common sizes on different bikes. So I'll be able to carry separately the extra bits and maybe a bit holder. And the reason those can actually go in here is because you are rarely using those, but when you need them, you need them. What you really need are these standard set of hexes. Those are the most common. And then it depends on the bike whether or not you want the Phillips. A lot of accessories use the Phillips, so that's where you'd want to make sure to snug things up. But anyway, that just worked out real slick. This guy here, in fact, if I hold it tight, they're on, well, anyway, they're on there pretty solid. It is made in China, right there. This is what it came with: lightweight, no moving parts, etc. So I thought my foray into Fix-It Sticks, this was a good one. I did get a comment a long time ago, like over a year ago, from somebody who suggested I try some Fix-It Sticks, and I believe they said they were in a wheelchair. I don't know if you're still watching, but if that was you, you know, hey, thanks. Been thinking about it for quite a while, but that was their go-to tool. So I'll be exploring the Fix-It Sticks a little bit more and seeing what other kind of hacks I can do with them. Because they definitely are friendly to experimentation. Anyway, with that, Doc out.